From his first 4 small crops, he was the #2 sire in North America and Europe on apex figures, splitting Galileo and Warfront. He just looks the part. He exudes class. He looks like Northern Dancer. I mean, it's impossible to get better than that. When you know a horse is this good, you have to be able to push the chips out on the table and to play that hand. He's a superstar.
Hi everybody and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm. I'm Dan Illman along with Nicole Russo, and let's take a look at the field for Wednesday's Spa Babies race. We're kicking off the late pick 4 with race number 7. 2-year-old fillies going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Our friends at Spendthrift, represented by the 8, coined the phrase. That filly is by their stallion Golden Sense, who is also a son of one of the best in the business, Spendthrift Stallion into Mischief. It is an overflow field, Nicole, with some internationally renowned pedigrees. This is going to be a fun race.
Yeah, and kind of a fun mix of pedigrees. Some international stallions represented in here, including European Horse of the Year Kingman, some U.S. stallions and some versatile ones represented, including Golden Sense, who you just mentioned, who was among last year's leading freshman sires. So kind of a little bit of everything in here.
We'll take the field in program number order, beginning with the number 1, Logic in Reason, by a good turf stallion in Declaration of War, who does very well with juvenile debut runners, 16% winners, 15% with first turf runners. And also, you take a look at the bottom of this pedigree, it's a really nice mixture of turf and dirt. The dam's a half to Zoftig, who was a Grade 1 stakes winner going long. Zoftig herself, the dam of 2 Grade 1 winners on the main track. I wonder if maybe this filly wants a little bit more ground than the 5.5 furlongs, but there's a lot of class here and a nice mixture.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned a good amount of dirt on the bottom of this pedigree. This is also the family of current stakes 3-year-old spin-off. Declaration of War, I think, can get you either type. You mentioned he's a very good turf sire, a multiple Group 1 winner on turf. He also ran very well in the Breeders' Cup Classic and his only start on dirt. And he's from an American dirt family closely related to Union Rags. So I don't think it's out of the question that he can sire a dirt horse. This one, I'm going to kind of take a wait-and-see approach. I certainly think that she might want more ground. And also, I could really see her running on either surface.
Are you a bit surprised, Nicole, that the number 2, Trash Panda, breaking from the inside post, is making her debut on the turf? She cost $250,000 at public auction. She's by Congrats, who only wins 8% with first turf runners. The dam is a half to the wonderful champion Abel Tasman, who loved dirt, loved to go long. She's also a half to Sky Girl, a graded stakes winning dirt sprinter. It's interesting to me that Trash Panda is debuting on the turf with all of this dirt in the pedigree.
Yeah, you know, at first glance, I do look at this one's pedigree, and I think dirt, and I think maybe she wants to go longer. And certainly Gary Contessa's 2-year-olds tend to really improve second time out. But then I look and I see some solid works on the turf, a nice foundation underneath her, and then she blew out 3 furlongs, it looks like, sharply on Sunday. So I think Gary Contessa might have this one ready to run a little bit.
But you did mention that Contessa often takes his time with these babies. Here's the formulator fact for the number 2, Trash Panda. Over the past 5 years, juvenile debut runners in maiden special weight turf sprints, 0 for 31. This is jockey Luis Saez's second call. We always like experienced horses in these maiden races, and the 3 Morality Clause has plenty of that. She has already started 3 times, and she has had some trouble in her career. In her debut at Belmont, she was off 2 lengths slow. She was down towards the inside at the back, altered course widest into the stretch, and came with a good run to finish 3rd, a second behind a pace presser in her second lifetime start, and then last out, I'm really not going to hold that race against her. It was washed off the turf. So she has some experience and a hint of early speed.
Yeah, and I'm not going to hold that race against her either. You know, she didn't miss the board, but I certainly liked her turf starts better than her dirt start. I think she also faced some better horses in those. Manny Franco has stuck with her last few starts, and some speed in that female family as well.
Here's a formulator fact for trainer Ray Handel. Past 5 years dirt to turf, although again he wanted to run this horse on the turf last time out, 0 for 46. The 4 is Swirling Candy by the underrated stallion Swirling Candy, who wins 20% with his juvenile debut runners, 14% winners with First Turf, and this one sold for $140,000 after breezing a furlong in a swift 10 seconds back in April. And talk about a turf pedigree. The dam was stakes place routing on the grass, but this is the family of Shakespeare and perfect Shirl. Swirling Candy might be ready to go first out. This horse has a really strong pedigree.
She really does, and Twirling Candy is on fire right now. The sire of good turf fillies like Grade 1 winner Concrete Rose, and of the multiple graded winning turf sprinter Morticia, which certainly bodes well for this one, even though that female family makes me think that she'll go longer. This one also coming off a solid turf work, one of the better ones at the distance on August 23rd. And as we always do, I'll encourage you to take a look at the workout reports produced by our head clocker, Mike Walsh, and his colleagues. Just a treasure trove of information, especially on these first-time starters.
Trainer Chad Brown conditions the 5, Jazzique, the 6, Selflessly. Let's talk about Jazzique's stallion, Kingman. He was a really honest racehorse in Europe. He is the sire of a classic winner in France. And you look at the bottom of this pedigree, the dam, a half-sister to Dylan Thomas, Queen's Logic. You've got European champions all over the female side of this pedigree. I wonder if Jazzique wants to go a little longer, but being a granddaughter of Invincible Spirit, she might have some speed.
Yeah, and you know, this is the second crop of Kingman, a Juddmonte homebred who was the European Horse of the Year in 2014 when he was a 4-time Group 1 winner in 3 different countries at a mile, at 7 furlongs. I think he has the ability to sharpen up what is a distance-oriented female family. He's gotten off to a very hot start at stud. I believe he had his couple of second-crop juvenile stakes winners just recently to go along with his classic winner.
Nice sharp gate work on August the 17th in company with Dabinet, according to the Welsh Clocker reports. I keep them filed away, Nicole. I think that's what the folks should do at home as well. You can always look back and see if these horses have been working. That horse came back to win with a 74 Beyers speed figure. Jazzique looks interesting, as most Chad Brown trained runners do. Here's the formulator fact for Chad regarding Jazzique and Selflessly. Past 4 years, juvenile debut runners in maiden special weight turf sprints at the Spa, 33% winners, a 258 ROI. The 6, Selflessly, attracts Javier Castellano. This is a half to enchanted ghost, a multiple stakes winner on the dirt, a $190,000 weanling by the all-purpose stallion More Than Ready. The dam's a half to Sans Souci Island, a family of a British champion named Negligent. So there's turf ability here, and this is another one that seems to be working very steadily for her debut.
Yeah, a ton of turf ability, and I like that More Than Ready is a really prominent juvenile sire. I think that should sharpen this one up a bit, but I do look at Selflessly, and I think that this is another one who's going to want to go longer, a lot of route ability in that female family.
Lots to like about the number 7, Nick and Zoe, one of 2 in here for trainer Wesley Ward, $52,000 weanling, sold up for $135,000 as a yearling by Street Boss, who gives you precocity and turf ability, and the dam is a half to Holy Helena, who won the Queen's Plate and is very, very good on turf, and Holy Boss, who is a graded stakes winner sprinting on dirt, I believe, at Saratoga. We know one thing about Wesley's 2-year-olds. They're fast out of the gate, and this one just popped a bullet in 46 and change out of the gate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The fastest work that morning on August 23rd, going 4 furlongs, have 128 that morning. So just a sharp work. You mentioned Street Boss being able to get you a good 2-year-old and a good turf horse. I like the mixture in the female family. I think there's a lot to like about Nick and Zoe.
Beautiful pedigree coming up next on the 8, Coin the Phrase. The question is this a pedigree for turf? By Spendthrift stallion Golden Sense, who does very well with 2-year-old first-time starters, 16% winners, capable with first turf runners. This is a half to Uncle Lino, who won the California Chrome Stakes, routing on the dirt in Southern California. What a lovely female family. The damiful to Lady Joni, who I believe won the Alabama, and she's a half to Preakness winner Shackelford. But there's a ton of dirt and route ability on the bottom for Jimmy Toner.
Yeah, you know, I do think that Golden Sense will have the ability to sire a turf horse. As I mentioned, he was among the leading freshman sires last year for Spendthrift. He's by Into Mischief, who can get them on any surface, turf, dirt. So I do think that Golden Sense paired with the right female family can get you a turf horse. That said, either way on turf or dirt, I'd prefer to see this one going longer. I think perhaps Jimmy Toner just has her in here to get her feet wet and that he'd be happy with a solid effort and to move forward next out.
I was really expecting a good effort from the 9 Tulanian when she made her debut on dirt 4 weeks ago, and she was just no good. She showed up in the pedigree with blinkers, and if you check out the formulator stats for Tom Amos trained first-time starters with blinkers compared to the debut runners without, there's a marked difference. His firsters with blinkers don't do well. This filly didn't do well. Now they're trying turf. The good news is she's a half to Sonic Boom, who was a graded stakes winner on the turf, but I have to admit that debut was disheartening.
Yeah, but being another one in here by Swirling Candy, who we discussed a moment earlier, I could certainly see her taking to the turf. Another one that I think I need to take the wait and see approach on. But, if she runs well here, perhaps we'll give her a mulligan for that debut. Perhaps she's going to prefer the turf.
Completing the body of the field is the 10, Hai Bobbi. We have 5 also eligibles that we won't be able to discuss. Hai Bobbi was bought back for $145,000 in April. The dam, a stakes-winning turf sprinter. This is a great family of Leslie's Lady, the dam of Beholder and Mendelssohn and Into Mischief. Hai Bobbi, not surprisingly for Wesley Ward, showed big speed in her debut at Belmont, got tired a little bit. She's been freshened up, and I would expect her to show speed again with Jose Ortiz aboard this time.
Yeah, and she grudgingly gave away late in that debut after showing that speed. I think taking the blinkers off might help her relax a little bit off that freshening. And you mentioned that this is the family of Leslie's Lady. While sire Shanghai Bobby is a decent 2-year-old sire, he was a 2-year-old champion himself. Shanghai Bobby by Harlan's Holiday, the sire of Into Mischief, who of course is out of Leslie's Lady. So an interesting pedigree pattern there.
And an interesting formulator fact for Wesley Ward. We usually don't go without a Spa Baby or Keeneland Baby video, without a positive Wesley Ward formulator fact. 42% winners over the past 5 years, with 2-year-olds moving dirt to turf and removing blinkers. All right, Nicole, you can go so many different ways in this race. Again, we encourage folks, watch the board, get a look at these horses in the paddock. We're kicking off the 50-cent late pick 4 on Wednesday. Who do you like?
Well, in trying to pick this race apart, of course, I see 2-year-olds on the turf, and I want to take a look at the Chad Brown pair and the Wesley Ward pair. And of those pairs, I think I prefer Jazzique from the Chad Brown barn. As I mentioned, a distance-oriented female family that Kingman should sharpen up. He's off to such a good start at stud. If I were going to pick between Wesley Ward's duo, I would take Nick and Zoe, the Street Boss filly with those sharp, sharp works. Behind them, I think Morality Clause has already proven herself to be consistent. I would certainly use her if you're playing any sort of exotic wager. And, normally I don't pick Gary Contessa's first start, horses, but the workout pattern on Trash Panda is so interesting. I think she might be ready to run a little bit. I would also use her in your exotics. I expect her to move forward next out.
And she's 20-1 on the morning line, Trash Panda. If not on Wednesday, put her in your horse watch on drf.com. We tend to agree in this race. I'm basically leaning on Chad in the pick 4, the 5 Jazzique, the 6 Selflessly. Both have a long string of workouts leading up to this race. Both have the strong turf ability in their pedigrees. Top riders with Ortiz and Castellano respectively. So that's where I'm going to go. 5-6 kicking off the late pick 4 at Wednesday with Spa Babies presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.